I'm still here. Hey, hello guys, this is Faye here, back finally with another video. Can you guys believe it? Can you guys believe that I'm doing a video? By the way, I have here my, what do you call this? My poncho, my sarape, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, why haven't I been making videos lately? To be honest, I don't know. I just haven't had the energy. I guess right now I just got home from work, and I say to myself, if you want to do it, just do it, right? Because other thing that I want to mention here is that whenever I hit the record option button, I always put on the lights, right? The camera lights. I didn't put them on today because it takes time. It takes a few minutes that I don't really want to spend working on the lighting of the video or whatever. And this is just what we're gonna get from now on. If I have the energy to put on the lights, I will do it. If not, it is what it is. So what we're gonna do today? Today we're gonna talk about my reading of this year, 2025. What I read, what I've been reading since the beginning of the year, and then maybe we're gonna discuss what I'm going to read. I'm not really good for the TBR videos because I don't really like to plan my reading, to be honest. Just go with the flow, right? So let's go to the books that I already read this year. The first book that I finished this year was it was a Mario Vargas Llosa book, which is La Tentación de lo Imposible, which translates to the temptation of the impossible. So here, Vargas Llosa talks about Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, right? So it's an analysis on the work on the novel. We know that this is a pretty extensive and dense novel, right? Les Mis, but Vargas Llosa here. It's a really short book. It's like what, 200 pages, and besides, this is like a mass paperback. Here in Mexico, you don't really have like the real mass paperbacks, but you have these little books, right? And this is by Editorial de Bolsillo. That's the what do you call it? The publishing company, right? So, all right, Vargas Llosa, La Tentación de lo Imposible. So here, talking about Les Mis, Vargas Llosa talks about Madame Bovary, right? Talks about Flaubert, Maupassant, all of these great writers, romantic writers, right? Um, so an important detail, the main like piece of information that I got from here is that Romanticism, like the cultural movement, started with Hugo, right? Victor Hugo and Les Mis. In 1830, with his works, it's like a pre-romanticist Victor Hugo at the beginning of his body of work, right? So it's pretty interesting. I don't know if this book is translated or not, but if it is, you guys should check it out. If you like classic literature, stuff like that, it was pretty entertaining. Now, if you're new here at this channel, you need to know that I don't really give out ratings from like 1 star, 2 star, 5 star, whatever. I don't really like that. And I'm planning on doing a video on the modern reading person, right? that needs these ratings, for example, that needs to have an app, or that needs to have a diary to register everything, right? And I was like that, you know. I still am sometimes. I want to register everything, but we're gonna talk about that some other time. Then the first, and now this is something because I really don't DNF books. I just I just don't, right? But the first DNF of the year goes to Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien. Now, this book, I was 100% sure that I was going to love it, right? You know, this book is about war, it's about ships, it's about manhood, it's about honor, right? It's about a lot of things. Um, but I just couldn't do it, man. The book, yeah, it has war, it has these connotations of value and morals and honor, but it also has a lot, and you know, you might say that it's obvious, but it has a lot of talk about ships, about boats, about the pieces of a ship, about what you do when you are arriving to port, when you're leaving to port, and this takes pages to explain. Right? I really don't care that much about ships. You know, I like ships as much as the other guy, right? The next guy, but I don't know, man. It was just too much. I don't really care that much about boats. You know, I want to see action. I want to see these guys fighting or these guys having moral issues or whatever. But it's just too much. Look, I got until page 193, right? And it's like, what, 500 pages or something? It's 400 pages. I couldn't even finish this. It was just too much for me. If you love this book, and most likely if you read it, you love it because this is a really beloved work. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I just couldn't get into it, you know. Sometimes it happens. Shit happens. Then I read. Okay, so this is a good book, but it wasn't the great novel that everyone was telling me that it was. And this is Cadáver Exquisito or Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Basterrica, Argentinian writer, I believe. I believe she's from Argentina. So this book, what the book's about? So it's a really, I don't want to say dystopic society because it really isn't. Uh, in dystopic society, everyone is suffering, right? Everyone is unhappy. Everyone wants things to change for the most part, or at least a minority, right? Remember 1984, Orwell. But here, so the main plot of the story is that animals, animal meat, and stuff like that has been infected, right, with a virus or whatever. It doesn't really matter for the story. What matters is that we humans can't really eat meat anymore, animal meat, right? So what do? We still need meat, right, to survive. So society starts to make these farms for humans, no names humans, humans with mental disabilities, breed to be uh, disabled, right, mentally, because that takes away a little bit the humanity of the cattle, sort of speak, right? And the main protagonist is a butcher, you know. The main protagonist is a butcher, and you deal with these morals about how far can humans take this abuse, see this abuse perform on other human beings, that at the end of the day, even if they are disabled mentally, they are still humans, right? So, all right, sorry about that, guys. I had to take a phone call. So, we were talking about tender as the flesh, right? So at the end of the day, this book is pessimistic, right? I really love pessimistic books. I just love them. This reminded me a little bit of Odessa Mosfeg, her writing, or Olga Tokarczuk. Um, that's the writing a little bit, right? If you want to compare Agustina with other writers. However, what I didn't like about this book was the ending, right? The ending sucked ass for me personally. Um, I mean, the book is really good and it goes by fast. It's a really short novel. But the ending could have been better if you want to discuss the ending, because I know that this is a very like popular book. Go down to the comments and just write what you thought about the book, just with the spoiler tag, please. Then what I read, oh, this next book made me cry. I haven't cried with a book in like years. I don't even remember the last book that made me cry, but this one did, and that's Pachinko by Min Jin Lee, right? Pachinko by Min Jin Lee, and this was a fantastic read, man. It's long. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, well, it's almost 500 pages, so not that long. But Pachinko was amazing. This is a generational tale, so four generations of women and men here. This centers around the beginning of the 20th century, and it ends in the 80s, 1980s. So you see how Koreans were treated by the Japanese when they were invaded by them at the beginning of the century, right? So it's pretty interesting how they handle this racism, how they survive in this society that treats them like trash, right? It's the classic immigrant story. It's a quintessential value of society, how you treat the immigrant, right? How you treat the other. And here it's really well represented, right? Pachinko, everyone should read this book, man. It's fucking great. This is the first book that I read by this writer. I mean, I gotta be honest with the name. I don't even know if this is a she or a he, the writer, and I don't even care. But I do want to read more of their work, right? So if you have a recommendation besides Pachinko, please let me know, because I really want to get into this author, right? So this was great. I don't want to spoil anything. Just know that Pachinko, the title, that's like a pinball machine. If you want to compare that with things in the West, that's like a pinball machine. That's sort of the owners of the pachinko places are looked down in society, right? Because they sort of gamble with luck a little bit, stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. Pachinko, it's a really good read. Then I read a book by Natsume Soseki, which is a Japanese writer. This book's in Spanish as well, but it's called I the Cat. I the Cat is a book told from the perspective of a cat at the beginning of the 20th century as well in Japan, right? So it's a pretty good book, man, because if you own a cat, if you ever in your life had a cat, if you like cats, you know the perspective of them, how they feel deserving of the best things, how they love their family, but in their own way, right? They seem to be criticizing everything, and here this is not no exception. We follow a cat, a house cat, right? And we see how he criticizes his master, the father of the family, how he works and how he barely works sometimes, or how he criticizes the mother of the house, and how she's complaining about everything all the time, and how she treats the little kids of the house, right? So with the little kids, the cat is nice, and if you have a cat, you know that that's true, right? So what's interesting about this book is that the writer was publishing entries like one chapter every month or 2 months in a, I don't know if it was a magazine or what, but it got to a point. So this is a long book, right? Like 600 pages. It got to a point where the writer didn't know how to end the book, right? So the ending is what you expect. What happens at the end of the life of a cat? You already know. So that's really not a spoiler. The writer told everyone that he was going to kill the cat at the end, but he was going to die happy. That's in the prologue of this book. But it's a beautiful ending. The book does drag a little bit in the middle, but you know it's worth it. It's a pretty, I don't want to say cozy read because I don't really like that word. It's a pretty easy read. You know, it's comfortable to read this in the mind. All right. So yeah, I the Cat. I really recommend this one. And I've never heard anything about this book before, by the way. I went to the library. We have these editions here, Gandhi Colecciones, which is Gandhi. That's the biggest yeah, the biggest library here in Mexico. So yeah, very nice. They have these editions, and it's not really that expensive, to be honest. Now, what else? I also read, and this is the last one that I've read entirely this year, the Symposium by Plato. So the Symposium, I read this every year, people say, because one of my classes in university, I teach history of art, and right now we're seeing the Greek art. But every time I enter a new piece of history, piece of art, or piece of what do you want to call it, like um, a new current, a new wave of art, I like to put it on context, the society where that art was created, right? So, for example, if we're seeing the Middle Ages, first, before seeing the art of the Middle Ages, we're going to talk about the society where that specific art was created, right? We're going to talk about the values of that society, um, provide a historical context before we even look at the art. So that's what I like to do with my classes, with art history. And so right now we're going to enter Greek art, and this is the first um, lecture, or this is the first book that I told my students to read. It's pretty short. It's pretty short. This is the Penguin edition, and it's a really good edition in matters of content, right? So I already have it annotated, as you can see, but every year I just reread it just to refresh my memory. And this is a really cool book, man, because it talks about love and how the Greeks saw love and what was love. Was it only sexual, you know, me and other men copulating, because that's what a symposium is, right? It's a reunion of men to copulate, to have sex, to discuss ideas, to develop the intellect, right? So that's love for them as well. But also, one must have love for women, and because they help us reproduce or raise or whatever. So that's the main idea of the Greeks. One must, the word that Plato uses exactly is one must choose freely to be a slave of the other, right? To be a slave of the person that you love. And for them, it could be either a man, a soldier, right? Or it could be a woman. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, you have to freely enslave yourself to the other. That's what it says. And it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful idea, no? To completely give yourself to the other person. So that's what Plato talks about. And we spoke already about this lecture in my class yesterday, and it was pretty cool. I have a right now. I have a couple of groups for art history, and they are all women basically. Like there's like two, three guys there. So this lecture about love was pretty entertaining, I gotta say. And the guys were just like sitting like, what do I say or whatever. But yeah, that's university for you. Now for what oh my god, I just bent this. I left it like this on the ground. Yeah, I want to kill myself. So what I'm currently reading is Under Heaven by Guy Gabriel Kay. Now this is my first book from Kay, right? I know that everyone says that you have to start with Tigana, but I saw that this is a duology. It's Under Heaven, and then it's River of Stars, which is this one. So I already have the duology, and it's how do you say it? It's a standalone series, so you can read the two books, and you don't have to read anything else like hey. And it's like 600 pages, 500 pages. I'm reading this on physical and also on audio. So the audiobook is pretty good if you can get that one. So what is this book about? We know if you don't know, you're about to know that Guy Gabriel Kay writes fantasy based on history. So what do I mean by this? Here, for example, in Under Heaven, there's a society very, very similar to the Chinese society, especially from the Ming Dynasty, right? So you got all these monks and different emperors and stuff like that. So the catalyst of the story, it's really really cool because you have a backstory, right? There was a big battle. A lot of people died in that big battle. There's two big um, uh, empires in this story, right? And they clashed. There was a big battle. A lot of people died. The protagonist's father died in that battle, right? And what he did, the protagonist, is that after the battle, he stayed on the field on the ground of the dead of the battle for 2 years, right? He was burying bones for 2 years. It could be from his side or the other side. So everyone saw this, even from the enemy empire. Everyone saw it as a great deed, right? So very honorable. And what happened is that a princess, we don't really know the princess or who the princess is. We don't even see her talk once. But the princess of the enemy empire gives the protagonist Tai, that's his name, 250 horses, but not any horses. The best horse that you can imagine. No, picture. I don't know. I don't know what kind of horse these are, right? Because it mentions a fictional race for the horses, but I imagine that these are the best horses that ever lived. Because everyone, if you read the book, everyone is raving about the horses. Everyone is telling Ty, the protagonist, that as soon as you get the horses, you're gonna die because everyone is gonna want to steal them, right? So that's I'm not really. I'm like what 120 pages in, and it's really interesting. The writing is amazing here. What I didn't know is that Kay finished the Silmarillion from Tolkien. and he doesn't want to say what he wrote and what Tolkien wrote. So that's pretty interesting. Pretty humble guy and has great writing. So I'm gonna check on you guys once I finish this one. And also, what I wanted to do. So that's what I'm reading right now. Under Heaven. I'm not reading any other books. I also read some manga. I read um, Berserk, like 5 volumes, the first five. But I was reading that in my tablet. I don't think I'm going to continue with Berserk. I mean, it's cool. It's fine. Uh, but to me, it seems like it takes the suffering of the protagonist gods to the extreme. It's sort of um, My Little Life. I believe there's a book, Little Life, um, where the suffering just continues and continues and continues. And I get it. You're suffering, man. You know, I grown numb to your suffering. But if I want to continue the manga, which I might want to do that, I'm going to buy the deluxe editions. I believe they're like 20, $30. I mean, it's supposed to be 50, right? But they're never 50. You go to Walmart and they're on sale. On Amazon, they're on sale all the time. So 50, that's like, you know. But yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm going to read next. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys the update and let you guys know that I'm still alive, right? I'm still here. I'm going to continue with the videos, and I'm going to be more, I want to make more videos, but sometimes I just can't mentally, because I do have time sometimes. It's not like I'm a slave, right? But I'm going to work on that, I promise. Next video, I'm going to throw shit at the more modern reader, and yeah, we're going to see what happens. See you guys.